Now, the Canadian Prime Minister is reacting after the United States imposed tariffs on its largest trading partners. Let's take a listen to what Justin Trudeau has to say.
And the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. At the moment, the U.S. tariffs came into effect in the early hours of this morning, and so did the Canadian response. Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods, starting with tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods immediately, and tariffs on the remaining $125 billion of American products in 21 days' time. Encore aujourd'hui, on se voit forcé d'imposer des droits de douane de 25% sur 155 milliards de dollars américains de marchandises. 30 milliards de marchandises américaines, excusez-moi. 30 milliards de dollars de façon immédiate et dans 21 jours, 125 milliards de dollars de marchandises de plus. Today, we will also be challenging these illegal actions by filing dispute resolution claims at the World Trade Organization and through the USMCA. But in the meantime, our tariffs will remain in place until the U.S. tariffs are withdrawn, and not a moment sooner. And should these tariffs not cease, we are in active and ongoing discussions with provinces and territories to pursue several non-tariff measures, measures which will demonstrate that there are no winners in a trade war. Now, just like I did a month ago, I want to speak first directly to the American people. We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country. Your government has chosen to put American jobs at risk, at the thousands of workplaces that succeed because of materials from Canada or because of consumers in Canada, or both. They've chosen to raise costs for American consumers on everyday essential items like groceries and gas, on major purchases like cars and homes, and everything in between. They've chosen to harm American national security, impeding access to the abundant critical minerals, energy, building materials, and fertilizers that we have and that the United States needs to grow and prosper. They've chosen to launch a trade war that will, first and foremost, harm American families. They've chosen to sabotage their own agenda that was supposed to usher in a new golden age for the United States. And they've chosen to undermine the incredible work we've done together to tackle the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that must be wiped from the face of the earth. So on that point, let me be crystal clear. There is absolutely no justification or need whatsoever for these tariffs today. Now, the legal pretext your government is using to bring in these tariffs is that Canada is apparently unwilling to help in the fight against illegal fentanyl. Well, that is totally false. Let's look at the facts. Our border is already safe and secure. Far less than 1% of fentanyl flows and less than 1% of illegal crossings into the United States comes from Canada. But we acted because we know we can always do better. We responded to concerns, including from the President, by implementing an ambitious $1.3 billion border plan, A border plan that includes generational investments in new AI and imaging tools to stop the flow of fentanyl in its tracks, stronger coordination and information sharing with American agencies, along with the deployment of drones, helicopters, and additional personnel to keep our border secure. Now, a month ago, as part of an agreement with the United States that paused the tariffs, we made further commitments. We appointed Kevin Brosseau as our fentanyl czar, a man who dedicated his multi-decade career in law enforcement to combating organized crime networks and drug trafficking. We designated 7 drug cartels, sick, evil groups who cynically profit off the pain and suffering of people on both sides of the border, as the terrorist organizations that they are. And just yesterday, we launched a new joint operations partnership supported by a $200 million investment between Canada's security and law enforcement agencies, a partnership that will enhance the coordination of information and intelligence in order to thwart criminal gangs involved in the illegal fentanyl trade. And critically, our actions are working. As the U.S. Customs and Border Protection just acknowledged, there was a 97% drop in fentanyl seizures from January compared to December, to a near zero low of less than half an ounce seized in January, even with all the further enforcements and actions we've taken at the borders. In sum, we stepped up. We engaged closely and constructively with the President and his administration. We did everything we promised. We stuck to our word. And we did it because we believe in working together to protect our citizens. Now I want to speak directly to one specific American, Donald. In the over 8 years you and I have worked together, we've done big things. We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the US have done together for decades, for generations. And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see. And now, to my fellow Canadians, I won't sugarcoat it. This is going to be tough, even though we're all going to pull together, because that's what we do. We will use every tool at our disposal so Canadian workers and businesses can weather this storm. From expanding EI benefits and making them more flexible to providing direct supports to businesses, we will be there as needed to help. But Canada, make no mistake, no matter how long this lasts, no matter what the cost, the federal government and other orders of government will be there for you. We will defend Canadian jobs. We will take measures to prevent predatory behavior that threatens Canadian companies because of the impacts of this trade war, leaving them open to takeovers. We will relentlessly fight to protect our economy. We will stand up for Canadians every single second of every single day, because this country is worth fighting for. Les derniers mois ont été stressants et honnêtement épuisants pour nous tous.
You were listening to Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who announced that the country will not back down from a fight. Justin Trudeau speaking in the aftermath of the United States imposing tariffs of 25% on Canadian imports. Now, what Ottawa has announced is they will be slapping 25% tariffs on U.S. imports worth some 30 billion Canadian dollars with immediate effect, 25% tariffs on $125 billion of American imports will be going into effect in 21 days' time. Now, he spent most of his time talking about the U.S. government, and then towards the end of his speech, we heard that he addressed one American in particular, and that was Donald Trump, calling him Donald directly. And he is now telling Canadians how this is going to hurt them as well. France 24's Philip Tell was listening to Justin Trudeau's speech with me, and he joins me and said it was quite an interesting speech from Justin Trudeau there, and I thought the part where he actually spoke directly to that one American was kind of interesting.
Talking first of all to the American public, and then saying I'm going to address one American in particular, Donald, and then speaking to the people of Canada, so really directed at three different groups at once. And a hard-hitting speech which leaves no one in doubt about the anger of Justin Trudeau that he feels as a result of these tariffs being imposed on Canada. Also, I think the injustice that he feels as well about the fact the treatment he's received from Donald Trump, saying that we are two men who have worked together. We've known each other for 8 years. We've signed an historic deal to create jobs and to obtain big things on the world stage, using the word big like Donald Trump often does. We should be working together to improve relations. This is going to open the door to other countries who are rubbing their hands when they see this happening, which is bad news for the Americans and bad news for the Canadians. And I think the underlying fact is that Justin Trudeau is saying whatever Donald Trump is doing, it is not going to be good for the Americans in the long run. It's the American public, the American consumers who are going to suffer. Inflation is going to go up, prices are going to go up, they're going to suffer because they are using minerals and resources from Canada that are going to cost more money, and that's going to have a knock-on effect on the economy of the United States. So he says, it's not us doing this, it's the American government, who are responsible, and they're the ones that you will have to blame in the long run.
And Philip, Donald Trump is due to speak tonight. He's going to be addressing the American people, obviously a few months after he's taken office, over a month. And it seems that there's so much up in the air. The relationship with Europe is in question. Ukraine is in question. Donald Trump is fighting with America's closest trading partners, including Mexico and and Canada. And as Justin Trudeau reminded the U.S. president, he has worked with Donald Trump himself to reform NAFTA.
And remember that the two did actually sign a trade deal back when Donald Trump was in office back in 2016.
Exactly, because he wanted to rip up the NAFTA.
He's ripped it up, saying, I read that deal, and how could anybody agree to such a thing when it was actually him who was the president who signed it? So a lot of anger on the part of Justin Trudeau, I think, and incomprehension, and pretty much a message that I'm not going to stand for this. We're going to fight back. But I think also a word of warning to the Canadians, as he said, that this is not going to be easy, and that whatever happens, the federal government will be there to protect everybody. But I think the thing that really struck me the most was almost not an insult, but the hard talk that Justin Trudeau is using towards Donald Trump, something that has been associated with Donald Trump in the past, using quite strong adjectives, illegal actions, saying things like, this is a dumb thing to do, saying this is something that he doesn't agree with the Wall Street Journal very often, but he agrees with that term. So it'll be interesting to see how Donald Trump replies to all of this, but I don't expect, knowing Donald Trump as we do, that he will climb down, because Donald Trump will never say sorry for anything that he's ever done, and that's certainly nothing that he's going to do when it comes to trade tariffs.
But the markets have reacted badly, and if we know anything, Donald Trump does pay attention to how the markets do. So we'll see if there's any action or reverse decision from the United States, but nothing for now. Thank you very much for that, Philip. Philip Tell there. More news coming up with us. Stay with us.